All right, everybody, welcome back to Door Bumper Clear this week. Coming off of another fantastic race in Homestead. Uh-oh.
Hey, how's it going?
Did we double book somebody?
I feel like I'm getting set up.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know why you would think that.
I feel like I'm getting set up. That was too obvious when I came in. Wow. I recognize that for sure. Super cool. What do you think? Is that Darlington?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Throwback.
All right, well, as we got started there, Karsyn Quapple interrupted us a little bit with a special reveal for Jamie, but we'll just do the normal introductions. Welcome back to DBC. Tommy, nice to see you again. I'm glad you're still with us.
Where'd I go?
Well, I just, I don't know. I was a little worried about you this weekend for some reason. No.
Yeah.
Karsyn.
Yeah.
Karsyn Elledge, marketing and partnerships for the Cars Tour, and I'm excited because this episode of Door Bumper Clear today is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops, and Bass Pro Shops is North America's premier outdoor and conservation company, which is also pretty fitting for our guest today.
We did bring in Jamie McMurray. Jamie, welcome back to DVC.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what else is in store. That was good.
I think that was going to be the exciting part of your day. Hopefully we don't get anything that exciting on the show today.
Yeah, when you text me and told me to get here 30 minutes early, I'm like, that's fine, because I get up at, I'm a 5 or 6 a.m. guy every day anyway. But then last night when I was sitting on the airplane at 10 and I was still in Miami, I'm like, this is going to suck tomorrow.
Jamie got home about 3 hours after me. They had a little...
Yeah, I do the short straw.
Yeah, airline issues. Not airline, shouldn't say. It's probably more... I don't know exactly who to blame it on. But anyway, how are you, sir? How's a CW life?
It's good. It's super busy. When Fox shut down the studio last year in June, I really didn't work from June until the Daytona 500 this year. And I got used to that. It was. I was still kind of involved in TV discussions, trying to get everything worked out. And as you're not working, you tend to bring on more because you're like, well, I don't have anything going on right now. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do that. So I signed up for a lot, but it's been really fun. The travel going back to the track is significantly harder than I remember. And I know we joked around about getting home late last night, but just the West Coast trips, the sleeping in a hotel. I love getting to go back to the racetrack. I've had so much fun just seeing old friends or just, people in the garage area. But that travel back and forth is taxing.
You hear him complaining. Last time he was a race car driver. He had his own jet. He had his own motorhome. He had his bus driver to pick him up. He didn't have any travel issues.
You're right. That's the and I tell everybody when they ask me about TV, they're like, "What's that like?" And I'm like, "Well, I had to grow up." I'm like, "That's kind of the bottom line because you don't have people helping you with everything." Just something as simple as a schedule for the weekend. I used to just get an email. This is your schedule. This is where you need to be. And now I send that email. I'm the schedule guy. Yeah.
And it's interesting too for me because when you have Fox and NBC doing the Cup Series, they basically do half a year each.
Right.
You're signed up full time. CW's covering all the Xfinity races this year.
Yeah, but even when Fox only had half of the season, because we still did Hub, and because I did pre-race, we still did a pre-race show. I think we did do it just about every single weekend. On Sunday, it would come on before the NBC pre-race show. So. But the studio was just easy because it's here, right?
Yeah.
It was 40 minutes from my house. You'd get there fairly early, but when the race was over, checkered flag, you were home an hour later, and that was a big deal. 10 o'clock was a late night.
Yeah, and I know this week you guys kind of unveiled the new virtual studio. How was that? I know it's not very popular with some of our fans where the guys aren't at the racetrack, but how'd you feel about it?
So and I'm glad you bring that up because I feel like fans think that we want to be at the track, and we do like to be at the track. I don't want to take anything away from that, but the job that you can do, the tools that we have at the studio here in Concord are better than what we have at the track. The monitors, everything that we have is better. And when you do a race, even from the racetrack, you don't look out the window, or you can, and you can talk about stuff that people can't see on TV, but if they can't see it on TV, they don't know what you're talking about. And we've heard everybody say, "We got to spin." And then they're like, "Never mind, he got it." And then they're like, "Well, what was that?" Because I couldn't see it. So being at the studio, I think there's a really good balance with CW right now of going to the track. We went to the first 5 races. We're going to do the Amazon and Turner section from the track. We'll be at the track for Phoenix, but then there's going to be some that we're not. But like the road races, road course tracks, there's no reason to go to the track because you can't see anything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at COTA, you could see like 1 second of the racetrack and you're just looking at the monitor, which is what we're going to do anyway. But other than being able to go to the garage, that studio is pretty awesome. And the pre-race studio that they built, they have this like 17-foot by 60-foot LED screen wall that we debuted this weekend. It's going to be really good when they get all the software, all the tools, all the things that we can do within that studio. That's going to be really good. It's a little bit behind. They wanted to have that for Daytona, but it's a little bit behind. And I would say that the other thing that I've learned about being in the garage or being at the track is when I go to, like Adam and I will go to the garage together, and you walk in a trailer and you spend like 45 minutes in one trailer. And so I say that because you only get to see about 2 people in the garage when you go down there because you just get caught up in conversation and racing. And so you're like, well, I'm going to go to, like, I'll make a list of here's who I want to go see, but you don't see any of them because you get in there and you just get to talking. And so what we have done, we're going to set up like, not shop tours, but just meetings at shops where the whole group can come in, whether it's Adam and I and Parker or the producers, whoever wants to come from NASCAR Productions or the CW network, come to shop and spend 2 or 3 hours and kind of get our information during the week. And I almost feel like that's better because, and Tommy would be a good one to ask on this, when you're at the shop, you're not worried about the race. And like when we go to the track, I can tell when we walk in, the crew chiefs look up and they're like, ugh, like here they are, like, and they want to help you, but they're also like, I'm busy, I'm doing something. So I think being at the shop might be better.
Yeah, it would help. Yeah, you'll probably get more information for sure.
Right.
Switching gears, obviously, Carter starting his racing career now. You've ended up somehow in the modified series, which do you have any backgrounds with modifieds?
I had seen a modified like 3 times, and it was because of Bono.
I was just saying,
Loudon. Like I would go, Gary, Bono, Newman would drive it. Were you involved in that?
No, but they ran my dad's number.
That's right. Yeah. So at Loudon, we would get there, and I mean the reality is that Loudon, that's the best race. I mean, it's not even close. That's by far the best race every single weekend. So I would go down there and hang out with them just a little bit, just because to be supportive, and instead of sitting in my motorhome, I'd go over to the garage. But no, I knew nothing about it. I just knew everyone that had one talked funny is what I remember. You'd go to the garage and you're like, oh yeah, it's like a different language over here, So no, and I had no intentions, I don't know, 4 months ago of ever putting my kid in one of those. But it just, and I don't even know how it all worked out. But I went to South Boston last year with Hermie Sadler to watch the races. And the one thing about the modified that I enjoyed is there's a lot of tire fall off. So it teaches a kid to manage, because Carter had been running these legend cars and they think there's tire fall off, right? Like he's like, I'm managing my tires, Dad. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, you only fell off a 10th and a half. So I don't know how much managing's going on there, but it's not much. So there's that. There's a lot of power. And they're 100 lap races, which is really good. As a kid, I remember running, I don't know, 25 lap, 30 lap. A 50 lapper was a huge late model race when I was a kid. And so the length of those races, I think, is really good. And it's also significantly more affordable than a late model. I mean, when you look at what it costs to go in a late model, it's crazy. Yeah. Like I don't know where all those dads work, but they don't work where I do. Like it's expensive.
Yeah. Is there any chance we're going to see you try to fight 20 people at one time?
There is zero chance that you'll see me fight it. And I love racing. I just am not going to fight over it. Like, I don't know. And I saw Tommy, and I saw the biggest vein I've ever seen in my life sticking out of his neck when he was yelling. I saw him trying to fight the tow truck guy,
I was not.
The official.
The guy was choking me, and I was like, are you done choking me? What are you doing? Get away from me.
Yeah, I don't know. My wife called me. She's like, did you see what happened? And I'm like, not yet. I said, but I'm going to start looking. And she's like, well, Luke's dad was really mad. She's like, I can tell you. She's like, he was really upset. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen that before. Like,
there he is. Yeah. Vein popping out. Look at the TV
that's
right
your
there.
That's your new contact
photo
in my phone.
I was not happy.
I made that
Hey,
your contact.
What's the
photo.
EMS guy saying right there?
Sir, you're getting ready to have a stroke. Please
Hey,
calm down.
all I could hear as I watched that piece was Tommy, 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 like everyone's screaming.
But I will go with you. Get up. Let go of me. Calm it down. Had enough of you, mother. That was you. In the car. Hold on a minute. On my car. Stop yelling at me, mother. Stop yelling at me! Damn car, you going to jail! Both of you! Stop! Put your hand up. Hey, my hand ain't on you.
There were about 85 people
I was
yelling
basically
Tommy's
just
name.
trying to tell everybody, just keep your hands off me. Leave me alone. Just don't touch me.
That's exactly how it came out.
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw.
That's what I heard.
Oh.
That's a big hit.
Obviously, these two had a run in. Jay Crum and Jack Baldwin had a run in a couple weeks ago at Anderson, I think it was.
Yeah.
And obviously everybody's going to say we're homers because Tommy's sitting here. I thought this was, I'll say it for you, Tommy, because I know if you say it, it sounds even worse. But it looked to me like Jack got loose underneath Jake, overcorrected it, and stuffed them both in the wall. I didn't appreciate this part where you drag the guy out of the car while he's kind of still in there, but he didn't seem to want to fight once Jack kind of got turned around. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard racing. That modified deal, like Jamie knows now, he's watching. I mean, these guys are getting after it.
Let me interrupt you here because I view every wreck the way that I would with my kid, right? Like, and I try to put him in both positions. And the thing that I've told Carter is I'm like, listen, if someone gets underneath you, you can race the crap out of them. And if they get loose and they get into you and you both wreck, you didn't really win anything. So you got to give room on both sides. And I was like, if you're on the flip side of that, if you're underneath somebody, you have to control your car enough that if you get loose or that you can catch it, right? And so, I mean, when I look at that, I'm like, well, the guy on the outside should have given probably a little bit more room, right? But there's a history between those two, and that's something that you just, it's hard to put in perspective because I'm not in their shoes on those.
But, to give them both credit, they raced side by side for 2 laps before that, and Jack just got loose.
Right.
And what happens, he got loose really early. And what happened was, it was right when they were next to each other. And when he got loose, the right rear hooked Crum's left rear, and when the front
gets
snapped,
sucked in.
it took his hand out. It took the hands off his steering wheel, and it was over. And then, I thought the left rear. So I was on. See that white trailer? I was on top of the white trailer watching the race, and I was even on the top of the trailer when they were fighting. Not fighting, but pushing each other. I was on that white trailer right there. I wasn't even doing anything. The only time I got off the trailer is when they started asking Jack to get into the ambulance. So I thought, maybe because his ankle's been broke.
Yeah.
You're scared a little bit, right?
Well, I was like, did he re-break his ankle, did his wrist, get hurt? So I only went down there to check on him. Jake walked by me and said, "Hey, man, I think the left rear went down." He told me to go F myself. I said to go F myself. But when I said that, no big deal. It was like in passing. I wasn't even worried about him. I didn't care
That's
about
a northern
Jake.
thing. They all tell each other that.
It's just normal conversation.
I didn't even care about Jake Crum at the time. I was glad he was okay because it was a hard hit, but I didn't even care about him at the whole time. But see all these guys in the gray shirts? They're all Jamie Tomano's guys that don't even work on the car, right?
Yeah.
They got a T-shirt showing up, and now they think they're part of the team. This guy with the hat, I don't even know who he is, right? So all these guys, this big guy, big doofy guy, right? He thinks who he is, and then they start running their mouths, right? So now everybody's, and then you got the guy in the tow truck driver. He starts choking me later on, right? It's like, what are you guys doing? They start running their mouths, and that's what pissed me off.
Tommy was going to throw that headset until he realized he owned it.
He owned it. That's right. $250 right there.
He's like, this one ain't Rick's, this one's mine. I'm going to have to keep this one.
These guys, man, it just...
The one thing about that track so we're 3 races in. We've been to Florence and Anderson where there's a lot of fall off, right? And I asked Carter about that. I'm like, was it fun? And he's like, well, Florence wasn't until the end when you could go. He's like, because you're riding around just kind of saving your stuff. When we got to South Boston, I went down into turn 1 and I watched the first lap. I'm like, oh my God, are they fast? Like, I thought the throttle hung. Like everyone, they just drive in so deep. They don't really use any brake. The car turns, and to me, it makes it one of the harder tracks to run side by side because the top was a little better. And so when you're on the inside, you have the less distance, but you don't have the grip, you don't have the momentum. I'm like, man, I watched the race there last year, and they wrecked the whole field.
Yeah.
And that's what they did again this year. Like,
I mean, it's just it's fast. And there's no room for error there. And unfortunately, the past history. I mean, look, the Baldwins and Tomatoes have been together. I mean, a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known them since I was 10 years old.
So does Crum drive
for Jamie Tomato? And there's
I recognize that name.
And look, I talked to Jamie after, had 2 good conversations with him, went over. I do not want to cost Jamie Tomato any money, right? I would never intentionally wreck Jamie's car. Even if after the Crum took Jack out at Anderson, I would never do that. I know how much it costs. It's cost me now 2 destroyed race cars 2 weeks in a row. So we're not out to wreck him. And Jake's tried to talk to me a couple times. He talked to me. I found out he paid the tire bill for me yesterday. Now I'm going to have to pay his tire bill, right? Now I'm pissed. It's going to cost me another $1,000, right? I mean, but it's like I don't want to ruin Jamie. He works too hard, right? So I don't want to cost anybody money. So it's just an unfortunate incident. I hope it's like, look, it's over. Let's move on. Let's stay away from each other. Let's race.
Yeah, I just hope for a couple more videos like that one throughout the year. But maybe we'll get Jamie.
Well, you're 2 for 2 in years right now, right? Wasn't there one last year?
Again, another stupid situation. But yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
I'll go into someday. I'll tell the whole story. But anyway, the best part about this is now we get to show Flo's cover, right?
Thanks to Tommy, we get to legally
We have
show
to credit
all
Flo.
Flo. Thank you, Flo, for allowing us to show clips now
on anything.
That's been like life changing for a race fan.
Absolutely.
The whole Flo Sports. Like I bought my dad that for Christmas. I'm like, Dad, if there's nothing on TV, there's a race on somewhere.
Tuesday nights, I loved watching the dirt racing.
Like you can just watch anything.
24/7.
That has been, I didn't even, like I had heard of Flo, but then when we started running legend cars, those are on. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to get the subscription. I just didn't realize everything else that went with it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And they're still at it. I mean, it's crazy.
All right, we're done. We can't. Dale's going to get mad at us.
Yeah, we should talk about modified. When we said I was going to do me and Tommy are going to do the show, he's like, I don't care as long as it don't turn into a modified show. Let's just keep talking about modified. So hell with it.
So aside from Tommy's weekend, how was Homestead for y'all?
Really good for us, obviously. I thought it was a fantastic race. If you're a racing purist, I think it was an awesome race. I've seen some people complaining about lack of cautions, but I thought that was the great race for Bubba. Really, really good race. Probably should have got stage points in the first stage. I allowed him to choose the wrong lane when I should have just made him pick. He picked behind the 71 who was on 2 tires, thinking we were going to have room to maneuver in 1 and 2 to have a hole to get around him, and we just didn't. We kind of got boxed in. Noah kind of ran us in the fence. Then Joey kind of ran us in the fence. So it kicked us from like 7th or 8th back to 12th, I think we finished. But then from that point on, just really, really good race car. Bubba did a great job running that slider line in 1 and 2. And we just were able to get up there, get to the lead finally, held off Larson for a little while at Homestead, which is pretty impressive. And then, just didn't have the raw speed at the end, I think, to hold them guys off. Bowman was catching us, and he got in the fence in 3 a little bit, and that allowed Bowman to get us. And then, as you guys know, like once you lose all your clean, like even one car in front of you will tighten your race car up just enough to where you're not as good as where you were. And so that was kind of it. And then we just, but thank God, I caught myself, and you guys know this, race car driver, crew chief. I caught myself because our pit crew has been amazing this year. And we're there 5 to go. We're running 3rd. And I'm like, man, if we just catch a yellow, I was like, if we just get a yellow, we might be able to beat these guys off pit road. And we were really good on a short run. So I was like, and then I'm like, no, that. After the last 2 months, just finish 3rd, please. No yellow, get out of here.
I came over to you at the start of the 3rd stage. I'm like, now, Freddie? He's like, I know. I said, you have messed these races up the last 2-3 weeks.
Do you spot?
No, but I go
you
up
just stand
there.
up there.
Yeah.
How bad did Bubba scare the out of you at the end when he's the tire going down?
Did you see this? He's coming down the backstretch. I'm coming to the checker. He's like, oh, I got a tire down. I'm like, I see he goes into 3 hard. I'm like, you're a like I was like,
I would be scared of karma.
Oh yeah,
I'd be
like
really scared.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, oh my God, it's funny to say that, but what are you gonna do if the thing blows in the middle of the ring 4 now? It was just.
But you got to admit he's in a different place now, man. He'll hold it. it took him a couple of years, right? But he's in a whole different world right now.
And to me, it's just the Bex, that having that baby is like a whole different mindset. Like no matter what happens at the racetrack, he gets to go home and see him, or he goes to the bus and sees him, and it kind of just brightens his whole day up. And he's just in a world where bad days aren't so bad and good days are great, and it's just a totally different mindset for him. And I think it shows on the racetrack.
I got to know him really well this summer because he came around the legend car at the summer shootout, and I was sitting next to Bubba. What did he get penalized for? What did he get in trouble for?
He did something, I forget.
He got a fine.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was.
I know he went in somebody's trailer, but I don't think that was it. I don't remember. It might have been it. He went in that McIlharney's trailer one night looking for him, I think. But
so he got this fine, and we were out there on Tuesday. And
no, he got the fine at the big track. It was for running into Bowman at Chicago.
Yeah. So that's right. Yeah. So we're sitting at the track, and it's 1,000 degrees out in the middle of summer in Charlotte, and I walk up and I sat in a chair next to him, and I did not. I mean, I knew that he was going to get in trouble, but I didn't know like the timing of everything. I sit down next to him, and he's like, "Man, I'm hot." And I was like, "Yeah, it's hot, isn't it?" And he's like, "No." And he goes in. He's like, "Was it 50,000?"
50,000.
Yeah. He's like, "I just got fined 50,000." I'm like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." I was like, I wasn't real sure what you were talking about right there. And so I can tell that he's mad. And at that moment, this little girl walked up with I think it was a Lego of his car, and her mom was there, and she's approaching him, and I was like, this could go two ways, right? Because he's mad right now. And she never knew. Like he got up, took a picture with her, and the parent told the story of like, we're out here each week and we're a fan of yours. And Bubba was so nice to her, and he sat back down, and I was like, I'm really proud of you right now. I'm like, because I know mentally where your head was, and it's the timing of fans sometimes is the impression that you leave on them, and it can be a bad one. And I was like, you did a really good job. I'm like, they didn't know how upset you were. And I tell you that story because Harvick was out there every weekend too, and Kevin and I would sit and talk about. I wish that everyone knew Bubba that we know, right? Because he's pretty funny. Like he's witty, he's funny, and he's a really nice guy. But he wears his emotions on his shoulder, and sometimes you don't get to see the. Because I would tell you, I probably wasn't a Bubba fan prior to really getting to know him, and Kevin and I have talked about like, gosh, I wish that we could on TV be able to show the Bubba that you see behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I've always told people that forever because this is my 16th year spotting for him, and but obviously coming from me, everybody's like, yeah, whatever.
It's not fair. Yeah, that's why I wanted to tell that because like I'm unopinionated on him, right? Like he's a good guy.
Anybody that tells me like Bubba's a piece of or something, like you can have your opinions about Bubba for whatever reason you want to, but like you can't tell me he's a bad guy. You can't tell me he's a bad race car driver.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's just. But anyway, moving on from that dumb last lap. Thomas, how was? I know probably not a great week, but not a bad week.
I'll tell you, the finish doesn't show, but we made a lot of gains this week. We worked really hard. I'm proud of the guys. We were a little off in the beginning of the race and fell 2 laps down, but the last 2 stages we held our own. Stayed right there. Stayed, with the group of guys we probably would race all day long. Look, we're not looking for wins, right? With Cody, we're looking to gain some experience with him. Have him learn a little bit more about the car, and we shoot for 28th place finish, to be honest with you, right now. And obviously we didn't get it, but the car was pretty good. We made a lot of gains during the race, and he worked hard all week. I was proud of everybody, but we got to keep working, man. I mean, it's a big boy sport, right? It's the big leagues, and he knows all the pressure. I mean, he came in last year. He didn't have any pressure, right? He was the second car. He ran 9 races very quietly, and he had a couple.
And he did run.
Yeah, he ran good. He's got the whole organization on his shoulders right now because we only have one car, right? The other car is leased, and that Ryan Preece is driving right now, and he's got a lot of pressure. And it's just, look, man. He's like, Cody, take a break. Let's go have some fun and do some racing, and like we were last year. And we went there with that approach this week, and it was a good week. I think we executed well. We didn't have any problems, and came out of there with a clean race car and keep working.
I think we saw 3 really, really good races. I mean, Larson kind of stunk up Saturday until that last restart, but truck race was phenomenal, I thought. I haven't used that word on here in a while, but Heim, Larson, Riggs, them guys went at it, and unfortunately, I think Corey had them all covered, but unfortunately his truck started shutting off. I think it was a burnt up wire or something that cost him. But I mean, I thought he was going to win this thing, and then all of a sudden now we've got a race on our hands where, the 34 is passing him every time it shuts off. He goes back, passes him back. Here comes Larson from the tail, ripping the fence. I just thought it was a really good race on Friday night.
It's always a good race when his tire fall off, right, Jamie? I mean,
yeah, and I don't know that it's just tire fall off. I think it's when you have options, right? Like, and the one thing that stuck out all weekend was Kyle. Kyle just doesn't have as much as everybody else, right? Like, you watch the races and his fall off it's just not as much as others because of that line he can run. And my appreciation for Homestead is that I know how hard the track is, and not just running the wall, just the track in general. But to watch what Kyle, not just Kyle, there's Noah can do it. There's a few, Reddick can do it. There's a few guys that can do it, but Kyle just can do it lap after lap after lap after. And it's like he's a quarter inch off the wall, and I just I know what it's like to sit in the car and every straightaway be like, all right, here we go. I'm doing it one more time. Like, hopefully I don't hit it on entry because I got to get right against it. But damn, he did it in all three races, and it's and then like. And I said this during the Xfinity race, he wasn't just fast on the top, he was fast on the bottom. Like, he just, I don't know, it's amazing to watch what he can do at that track.
When I was watching Xfinity practice, and he was in the opposite group of us, so I was able to watch pretty much all of his run. He would, everybody had the same thing. They'd run a fast lap, then they'd fall off, a second or so. Then once he got to about a second and a half off, everybody kept going off except for Kyle. Now he starts creeping back the other way, a tenth faster, which is unheard of there. And I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be trouble for these guys.
Yeah, and like I looked up and he was, 6 seconds behind with 17 laps to go, and I'm like, I don't know. And then I heard him on TV be like, well, he was 3/4 of a second faster that lap. And what happens if you're the guys in front is they tell you that, and you're like, oh my God, I got to figure it out. And then you start going slower because you're trying to make the top work. And I don't know, man, that guy, when he was my teammate at Ganassi, I remember he was in like the 51 the first time we went there, and he could do it then too, super fast. And I don't know if the motor, but something happened. He didn't finish very well. But when we went to test the next year, I was like, well, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out, right? Well, I spent 2 days, 14 right sides, tails, and I never figured it. I mean, it's just like, here's the thing. Everybody can do it. They just can't do it at the pace that he. Yeah. I mean, he'll just charge the corner, and you're like, well, I don't understand it. This doesn't make sense that you can drive in harder than me and not hit the wall, but he can.
I remember Bubba was running a truck. I think it was the second year he ran the truck at KBM, and we got to Homestead, his last race of the year, and we were the fastest truck on track practice, and all of a sudden Larson jumps us, and I'm like, how did he jump us? He's on old tires, like
right.
What the? So then I'm like, oh. Like I look and he's just running his line, So he ends up running us down and catching us, passing us, and I'm like, this is the line. This is way faster, like a second faster than you right now. And Bubba drives into one behind him, and he's like off. He's like, no chance I can do that.
My favorite line of the weekend, and my favorite thing to do. Casey Kane would do this all the time because Casey could run the top really well, and Casey would pass. You would think you were running high. First off, you'd be like, because if you think about it, like 15 years ago, people, when they said they ran high, they just weren't on the white line, right? And so you would think you were high, and Casey would roll around you on the outside. And while he was rolling around you on the outside, he would like stick his hand out the window, and it was like a really relaxed, I'm not doing anything wave. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like swatting flies in here, And I heard Jesse Love say, Larson like whipped around him on the top, and then he like gave him the peace sign out the window. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you do, right? And it was fun because even though you're working hard in the car, you don't want anyone else to think that you are, right? Yeah. So that was funny.
That's funny.
Hey, it's Dale Jr., and for the latest DBC gear, we need you to go to shop.dirtymomedia.com. We've got plenty of options, and we're adding new stuff all the time. Shop.dirtymomedia.com.
All right, topic number 1, spot on, spot off, pit strategy. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson split the stages in half and ran longer in the pit cycle than Ryan Blaney and most of the front runners. Was this the winning move, Freddie?
Obviously it wasn't the winning move. For that stage it was. That stage to me, that second stage, of that race was the perfect race, in my opinion. You know, if I could script a race, that's what you want to see. You want to see the guys out front, you know, somebody just do something different. You know, I felt like Blaney was the best car at that point. He was kind of checked out, maybe too much so to where he burned his up, and then he started to struggle in traffic, where I think it was McDowell and maybe Riley. They were kind of racing each other, trying to stay on the lead lap, and he was having a really hard time passing them because I think he was just out of tire at that point. But so now that kind of brings them guys back into play, because I don't know that they would have ran him down on raw speed, but once he started getting held up a little bit, you know, we saw it coming. You know, we pit at about lap 30 of that run, which meant we had 45 laps to go. Them guys pit 7 or 8 laps after us. So even just that 8-lap advantage, they were able to run us down from, over a straightaway back. But that to me, that's what you want to watch. I hope it played out that way on TV. I know for the people there in the stands, it played out that way. But you know, you're sitting there watching. All right, these guys have been leading, but now here these other guys come, and are they going to be able to get there? Now they're going to race each other for the stage win. Once they do run down the guys that stayed on all tires, Jamie, I think that's just a perfect race for me, or the perfect thing to watch, especially.
Yeah, and I feel like at home you don't watch that race because you're just kind of watching what's on the screen. But it's like if you're spotting or for TV booth, you have timing and scoring, and you can see, you're like, ooh, it's leveled out, now it's going to start playing, and you're looking at the gap that they have. But I just the only way that you can make that splitting it in half work is if you're really good on the longer run and you don't have the fall off, right, that some of those other guys do. And I would assume that pitting a little bit early, you must be banking on getting the caution, right? Like you kind of capitalize on the shorter run speed, and then maybe getting the caution at the end of the stage like they did in stage 1. Blaney, though, I thought best car. As I watched him, he wasn't using all the racetrack most of the time. Like he was kind of around the line Bubba did, like just a little bit lower. And to me, that's made Homestead almost better, where it's like you don't just have to run against the wall. Like all those guys could make good time a lane or two down. But you said it. Like I think if you're a purist and you just love racing, like that's what you would want to have every single week. Like some people that can go on the short run, you can have a little different strategy. That's what makes Richmond, I think, interesting, is like the 1 or 2 stops. I thought it was really entertaining.
The strategy, again, what they knew what to do. What'd they get there? 2 laps to go at the end of the stage?
Yeah.
Right? To pass them. But on a normal basis, when you're running in the middle of the pack and you're racing with a group of guys, you actually want to pit a couple laps early before them to get ahead of them, get cleaner air. When you're a leader, when you're in the top 3 or 4, it's a little bit different situation, right? Because you're going to always be in clean air, unless you come back out with the group of guys that still haven't changed tires, right? And they're a gaggle of cars, and it's costing you some time. So it all depends on where you're running, on what you want to do on either stopping short or stopping long. But again, the 5 car did it, yes, but the Gibbs group, again, the 11 car waited, pitted at the end.
Yeah.
It's almost like they don't react to the others, right? Yeah. Like, was that fair? I just feel like
absolutely.
It's like they're like, we're going to look at our lap times. If we don't fall off to this point, we're going to stay out. We're going to split it in half, and we're just going to commit to our race. And I think that's hard to do because, like you said, if you're running a group of 4 or 5 cars, you just want to put 1 lap early, leapfrog them, and you're like, hopefully you can hold them off then for the rest of it.
It's 3 seconds, right? If you have a good,
huge.
It's a 3-second jump, right? So once you get out there, if you get 1 or 2 laps, okay, you're not going to pick up those 3 seconds. You're going to pick up maybe 2 seconds,
right,
but it's going to be too late. So it all depends on where you're running, right? What position you're running, to strategy you need to do.
And I think a lot of times people get caught out with, pitting too soon after somebody. So, you're racing, if somebody's right behind you, you're racing, and they pit. Well, now you're kind of screwed because no matter what, they're going to jump you. So now don't react and pit right away, because now all you're going to do is put yourself behind them on equal tires.
Right. Totally,
you know what I mean?
So
then you got to wait. Now you kind of box yourself into where you got to wait 4 or 5 laps to at least have an advantage on them when you do come back out. So it's a game. It's just we had code words yesterday that were like, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound like I'm wanting you to pit, but you're actually going to stay out, just in case we were leading and you want to trick the guy, pit, meant, maybe that meant stay out or whatever it was. But then, so now you're trying to trick them into pitting early so then you can, whatever it was. So it's just, it's a cat and mouse game but it's just so much fun to watch. And it's funny you bring up Richmond, because I was listening to Teardown last night, obviously, my boys, Jeff and Jordan, And Jeff mentioned Richmond about not liking that there, not liking that.
Why?
I don't know. Like I don't know. He said
I would disagree with
said,
that.
Me too.
Yeah.
He said that because it's a short track, he wanted just like kind of nonstop action, which I think that is nonstop action. I didn't understand the point, but like I love that about Richmond. That's why I hate that we're not going back there twice this year, because you saw that too, and the other thing that helps these strategies play out is green flags. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't get to see this if we have a caution in the middle of the stage like we did in the last stage. And
I think that's where it gets hard at home sometimes, is because you're like, well, I want them to get back in a restart and see the fan out. But the reality is, what makes it so much fun is, you said it, with 2 laps to go, you're like, they're going to win. They're going to get there and be able to get by them. Yeah. And that's kind of fun to watch that for 15 minutes play out.
And how hard is that? How hard is it? Obviously, we can only see, you can't show the aerial view of the, I mean, you can, but you're not going to stay on it. How hard is that to paint that picture for the people at home of, I know you're watching these 3 guys battle for the lead, but there's 2 more guys coming,
I think the hard part with TV is that if we're all watching the race together, you can like touch somebody and be like, watch, this is what's going to happen. The problem with people watching the race at home is that they'll get on the internet while you're trying to explain something. And if they miss a key moment that you've said, they look up and they're like, well, what the hell happened? And you're like, well, I can't help you now. I've already kind of said it once, right? And so I think that makes it a little bit difficult to follow at home on TV, is that, the people's attention is limited, and maybe you went to the restroom when all that was going on. So I think that makes it hard, but it's really fun as a fan to watch all that play out. And as a driver, being out there, when you see people pit, you're like, are we pitting? What are we doing, right? Because as a driver, I always wanted to pit first, right? I'll take the immediate reward of like the 3 seconds or whatever and getting ahead, and then just kind of hoping that a caution comes out.
And I think it can be driver to driver. You know what I mean? Like, I think Denny has done that so much at a place like Homestead.
He's good with it.
He's amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bubba, on the other hand, like sometimes we've tried that with Bubba, and we kind of in years past have struggled to get through traffic. So we were better off being the one that pitted at lap 30, get to 3rd place, and then we bleed 2 spots and still finish 5th. Versus, maybe we run long, we come out of the pits wherever they came out, 12th, 15th probably, and try to drive back up to 5th. Might have been a little bit more challenging for us, where them guys kind of cut through the field. So it could be driver to driver. You got to know what you're working with, and like you said, the Gibbs guys, and obviously Larson is just Larson.
Well, Larson obviously has an advantage there, right, Jamie? I mean, he can rip the top. Him and Reddick are the only ones that go in from the start-finish line to the start-finish line. They are riding that wall.
Unbelievable. I know. Well, and like I looked up at one point yesterday, and Larson had lost. I'm like, ooh, he doesn't have the speed now. But as you said a second ago, his just stayed there, and all of a sudden, everyone in front of him, they kept getting slower, and you're like, yeah, he might have a chance now.
I thought the end of those both the end of those races, the truck race and the funny thing was, the race he dominated the most was the only one he didn't win all weekend. Yeah. And then, but like the ends of those races, the end of the truck race, long green flag run, played right into Larson's hands. Same thing with the Cup race. Once you get it worn out and you're sliding around more and more, he's gonna show up.
It was weird though. Corey Heim, like I think he could have beat him on the bottom.
Oh, I think so.
Agree.
It was crazy. I'm like, how is he that fast around the bottom of the track?
Yeah,
it was really impressive.
It seems to me like the bottom hangs on a little bit longer at night, especially, because I mean, Austin Hill last year did a really good job winning the race down there. So it's just, whatever it is. But I think Corey Heim probably was going to outrun Larson if straight up he doesn't have any issues. But, unfortunately he did.
There was a lot of discussion heading into the Xfinity Series race, the week like leading into it, about the top's not dominant anymore. And because Austin Hill won the Xfinity race the year before, not running the top. And I was trying to not be a know-it-all, but I'm like, do you think that's because Kyle Larson wasn't in the race or Noah wasn't in the race? Because, like I said, people can run the wall, and then there's like 3 or 4 people that you're like, well, they're just in a different league. Yeah. And to me, if you take Larson out of the Xfinity Series race, you didn't have to run the wall. Like you could have won running a lane off, right?
For sure.
Speaking of the Xfinity race, Sam Mayer gets into the back of Kyle Larson before they launched on the final restart. Justin Allgaier was able to take advantage and steal the win in the Xfinity Series race. Spot on, spot off, Tommy.
Well, I mean, like Freddie and I talked about it yesterday. I don't know whose fault really was that, you think, Freddie?
Yeah, I mean, it was at the end of the day, Sam should have known better than to just waylay the back of Kyle. But my opinion, and Jamie, you could talk to this because obviously you've been in this position before. I feel like the longer you wait in that restart zone, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah. Do you say spot on first, Clint?
Clint. Don't ever call me Clint.
That's what I'm just laughing because I feel like every week we do these and Clint will just like start rambling and I'm like, well, hell, you didn't answer the.
Well, we ramble a lot here, so you'll be all right. I was listening to your call yesterday, and Clint rambles.
Tommy rode with me to the track yesterday, and we did a Zoom call like for our pre-race meeting, and I had it on speaker, and I'm like, I just kept looking at him. I'm like, every week it's the same interesting story every week.
I don't even know if it's a story.
No, it's not.
It's just Clint being Clint.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. I like when you wait that late in the box, everyone's getting antsy, right? They don't.
Yeah.
Like when you're leading, when is it best to take off? I know the second place guy knows when it's best to take off early, right?
Right.
But
well, what I said as they were coming to the green and Austin Hill was on the outside, I'm like, if I'm in that position, I'm going to try to jump the restart and I'll take my chances because even if I launch a little early, I'm going to have a little wheel spin. I'm probably not going to beat him to the line. And I just, it's hard to say Kyle did something wrong because he's so good here. But clearly, if he could take that back, he would have went quicker, like earlier in the zone. The problem with here is that you're so like the inside launches better. So that's the preferred lane to be in on the launch, but you're vulnerable as you get down with having to block the guy in third. And if you had to bet money on who had the better short run car, the 41 had a better short run car, and I think Kyle knew that. And so then there's like some games being played right there, but it's so unfortunate. You said it, like he didn't have the best truck, and he probably didn't have the best cup car throughout the race, and he won both of those, and it was a different league in the Xfinity race.
It's just, it's everybody around you, any restart, no matter where you're running, but a leader especially, is trying to take advantage of you. You know what I mean? The guys behind you is probably laying back a little bit. The guy on the outside is trying to go a little bit early. Nobody's reacting to what Kyle does. They're all trying to anticipate and get a run. So, the leader technically is supposed to be the first one to fire, but that's never really the case.
That's a hard one because there's so much wheel spin there, right? Like I think it's hard for NASCAR to call that.
Yeah, I think it's one of them places where you mentioned it, Jamie, that the bottom lane just gets a better fire off. Seems like all the time. That's why the leader always chooses the bottom. And I just think that, like you said, if he could have it back, I think he definitely would have just kind of tried to take off and been gone. But
one thing that I love about Larson, though, and I don't just want to just praise him this whole show, but
I don't think we're gonna have a choice.
He never, but he doesn't complain, right? Mm-hmm. Like you could tell he was mad at Sam Mayer, and he kind of tried to slam him a little bit, and then he was like, but I probably would have done the same thing, right? I mean, he just and that I think that's what makes Larson so likable. Is that even when it doesn't go his way, he's like, I see the other guys, the side of it.
Yeah, and shout out to Allgaier because
about time he got one back.
Yeah,
right?
there's been so many races.
As many he's given away in the last 2 or 3 years, he's finally got one back.
He
this year.
never finished in the top 5 at Homestead.
Really?
As we headed into that race, he led 57% of the laps at Phoenix and Vegas, just dominated those races. And so you would think that made him a favorite going to Miami. And I looked, he'd never had a top 5. And honestly, he'd run well, but he always got into the wall and could never put the whole race together. So it's pretty cool, though, to see him not have the best car.
And he made a mistake here. I forget what was he too many boxes, or he had some kind of pit road penalty. I don't remember. He might have just sped. I don't remember.
I don't think that was him, was it?
I don't remember. I know.
Oh, no, it was.
Some,
You're right.
Yeah,
he did. Drove through 4 pit stalls. Yeah, that's exactly right.
But yeah, and what a swing. He's when the yellow come out for Taylor Gray spinning there, he was 25 seconds behind, I think.
Going to get lapped.
The whole field was 25 seconds back.
That was insane. What did he lap up to 6th?
4th.
He did.
For the fifth place car was the Jesse Love was the lucky dog.
Lord.
I think he was 5th. Might have been 6th. I can't remember.
That was crazy.
It was a long ways.
It was 16-second lead. I think he had over a half a track lead on second.
Nuts. All right. Jordan Bianchi said on the teardown that the city of Homestead would like to put together a financial package to entice NASCAR to host the championship race in 2026. The vice mayor, I didn't know there was such thing as a vice mayor. The vice mayor of Homestead put it at a 70-30 chance that it's going to happen. Spot on, spot off. Freddie.
Well,
I know you vote for Homestead.
Yeah, I think everybody that loves racing would vote for Homestead. There's the rumor. This was almost a done deal. To the point where they were flying drivers out there Tuesday or Wednesday to announce this, the finale, and obviously something's happened and it's fallen apart funding wise here late in the going. But
this was happening right now?
Yeah, this was like, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, there was drivers flying to Homestead to announce that they were having the finale.
Oh, wow.
And I think some things came up with, they got the World Cup coming there, and it's just a lot of moving parts, and some of the funding kind of fell apart there for the NASCAR side of it. But the question I ask you guys, obviously, I think every one of us is spot on for trying to bring that race back to Homestead, just for a sheer racing standpoint. But Jeff, when I was listening to them talk about this last night, obviously Jordan was talking about this, and then Jeff brought up a really good point where if they say it's between $5 and $10 million is what Phoenix is paying to have the race there. When it comes down to it, should we be worried about dollars and cents? Obviously we're spending somebody else's money here, but should we be worried about dollars and cents when you're talking about $5 million, $10 million to NASCAR? It doesn't seem like a really absorbent amount of money. Should you be worried about putting the best product on the race on TV that you're going to see? Like, obviously, I think Homestead puts on 1,000 times better race than Phoenix does. Or are you just catering to the almighty dollar at that point?
Well, I think it goes two ways, right? I think NASCAR has to really pick really good racetracks to put on the best show that can be possibly the best championship race, right? And look, the Phoenixes, the Miamis, the Daytonas, they're people, those are places where people go to, right? So for those type of places to spend that money, they're going to bring the economy up, right? The hotels, the travel, all the stuff that happens that goes along with it. So it's a much bigger thing than people think it is, to do that type of stuff. So obviously, I don't know if the fires had anything to do with it, with what they had to do, if they had to, stop those talks that, during the week. But I feel that Miami is the best place to end the year. And look, I know Daytona wouldn't be that bad either. Yes, it's a crapshoot, yeah, but
God almighty.
But boy, that would bring a lot of talk. I mean, that would bring a lot of pissed off drivers, a lot of pissed off people. But at the end of the day, that might be something.
I don't think it's a fair question.
Yeah.
And I say that because there's always more to it, right?
Yeah.
And we could go to the best track for drivers or for the race, but if they can't pay you, like it doesn't matter how great it is. So no one's going to argue that Phoenix isn't the best track for the championship, racing wise. But the venue, the market it's a 10 out of 10. Like when you go out there, it's a beautiful place. There's a lot to do around the track. Homestead, not so much. I mean,
Yeah.
You got to drive a little ways at Homestead to find something good to do. This will be a discussion for a long time of where the championship race should be, and I'm still just a believer they should pick 3 or 4 tracks. It should rotate, and I say that because, and even though Larson won his championship at Phoenix, I don't think it's fair to be at Homestead if he's going to be in the championship 4. He's going to have an advantage, and it's the same thing if you have it at Daytona. There's going to be somebody that probably has an advantage there, right? Like the Penske cars, we could say, probably have an advantage on the super speedway. So I don't know. I mean, money makes everything happen, and I wouldn't blame them a bit if that's influencing their decision.
And listen, we're talking about Homestead, maybe announcing this, this week, and it's getting close to being done. The mayor, vice mayor, whatever said 70-30. We're talking about for 1 year, I think, because I think starting next year, we're going into a rotation. I think that, the rumors I heard this week were Homestead's getting done this week. They're going to announce it this week. And the next rumor was Vegas in 2027, which is it's interesting to me because it's an SMI track. So I don't know how that logistically
I think that's
works
good,
out.
though. I feel like
amazing.
it's great that NASCAR's not like it has to be at one of our tracks. I think that's nice they're opening that up.
If that's actually going to happen, I think that's great. Which obviously Vegas, another really good racetrack.
Everything good.
Everything good there.
Fun.
Obviously, you've got Vegas.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there to that. So that would be another really good option. But I think there's probably 4 or 5 tracks you can go to that will put on. Darlington. Obviously, you got to worry about. Some markets you can't go to just because it's, Kansas would be a great race, but I don't know that we want to go to Kansas in the middle of November. It might be a little chilly.
Probably a 70-30 on that as well.
But what 5 tracks do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was
honestly,
gonna
for
ask.
me, I mean, if I had to pick racetracks and probably same markets, Homestead, Vegas. I'm good with ending at Phoenix maybe once in a while. I'm always of the opinion that I want a 3-race playoff, and I'm always good with Phoenix being in there because of the market, and it's always kind of been one of the last 2 or 3 races of the year. But for me, just sheer racetracks, Homestead, Vegas, Darlington, I think would be amazing.
Texas, maybe.
Off Texas.
Jesus.
Texas.
Tell us how you really feel.
No, unless we reconfigure it again for the 15th time. I mean, Kansas.
The weather
would
is
be,
what's going to dictate it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Kansas would be great, but again, I don't think we're going there. There's places.
We went to New Hampshire one time after Thanksgiving.
That is true. That was a little wild, but short tracks. I wouldn't be against a Martinsville, but I don't. We'd have to get better. We'd have to get a better product, I think, than we have right now.
Racing's not very. I mean, not that it's bad. It's just
we just need
the mile and a halves are just so good right now.
And listen,
it's hard to do that.
You have one of the most famous quotes. I'll talk about this for a second.
Yeah, I hear that all the time still.
And sorry, but I think that this year probably beat 1989.
It did for sure. Yeah, yeah. It definitely is actually a good race this year. It was really entertaining to watch. It. So we can update that to 2025, the best race. Yeah, that's funny.
Bass Pro Shops' history with racing runs deep. Their iconic schemes are true classics of the sport. On or off the track, Bass Pro supports fans, drivers, and teams, and for years it has been the go-to destination for all of your outdoor needs. Just as racing spans across generations, the love for being outdoors does too. From family fishing adventures to spring break camping trips, Bass Pro Shops has all you need to gear up for adventure. And at Bass Pro, club members can enjoy special savings and earn points towards free gear, so you get rewarded while buying what you need for your next adventure, or for the outdoor enthusiast in your life. Club members save on gear and support conservation at the same time. So what are you waiting for? Head over to your local Bass Pro Shops location and your adventure starts here. Kyle Larson said, I think if we still had the 2021 car, I would have about 50 Cup wins right now. I think switching to this car has limited us from winning. Spot on, spot off, Tommy.
I think he meant by it's brought the competition closer, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder to win. So I don't think he was saying anything about the car. I'm thinking his thought process was, man, it's brought the competition is a lot tougher now. A lot of different teams are winning, but obviously you can see he's still doing pretty good. And
it's hard to argue with him, Jamie, because 2021 he won 10 races.
Well, I'll say spot off, only because we're not racing in 2021, and things evolve, and you just don't know. Like they were really good in 2021, but times change, and so it's hard to. If we just raced in that year, he would for sure would. He'd have 10 a year, but I think it still worked out pretty well for him.
He's doing okay.
Yeah. How would you rank all the HMS drivers with this next gen car between the four of them?
For me, Larson's at the top. Obviously, I think Larson's probably at the top of our sport. Period. And listen, this is gonna who list,
has the most wins in the next
gen car of them?
Total.
Kyle.
Probably. Is it Kyle?
In HMS?
I was gonna say it's probably Byron.
No, it's right there.
No, Byron has 14.
Larson.
Yeah, if I just read the sheet, they're close though.
Yeah, but who has the most in the next gen era
of anybody?
Yeah.
I believe it's probably Larson. I would imagine it's Larson. Yeah. It's whoever these guys, all these guys.
Larson or Byron?
Yeah. We're on this page right here.
For me, it's kind of listed as they're listed here. And I think the low-hanging fruit here is to probably try to put Chase fourth, and you just can't do it. I think he's probably still one of the most consistent drivers in our sport. It's hard to...
It's not fair to rank like that because there's variables that play into that. And Bowman only has 2 wins. But I think Bowman's underrated. I think he is incredibly talented, and I think he's in a really hard position at HMS because you've got what most will say is the most talented guy with Kyle Larson. You got the most popular guy who's really good also, Chase Elliott. William Byron's the golden guy, right? I think that's a really hard position for Alex to be in. But I was pulling for him yesterday. As you're watching, I'm like, as much as it's cool to see Larson catch him and win, I'm like, man, I just think Bowman is underrated, and I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, I was really pissed at him yesterday because Larson run us down. It was kind of our thought process, we're not going to hold this guy off, so let him go, let him get up there to Bowman, and then hopefully the two of them race each other. Maybe you guys come back to us, and then Dan Bowman drags his right side off, and Larson doesn't even have to try to pass him. I was like, you son of a. But Alex did a really good job yesterday. Obviously, they're late in the race, ran us down, passed us, and was trying to get gone. But obviously, it's hard to beat Larson. But for me, if you made me rank him, it'd be Larson, maybe Byron, just barely over Chase for second, and then Bowman fourth. But again, I'm talking. Even if that's not a knock on Bowman, because you're still talking about you're still talking about top 10 guy. The 4 of these guys are all in the top 7 or 8 in points, whatever it is. So it's just there's that sheet. I should have just looked at that, right? But yeah, I mean it's just you're splitting hairs when you talk about these guys because they're all super super talented.
With Larson having 30 career wins, do you think he'll catch up to Jeff or Jimmy? Or pass?
I think he's an easy 60.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
So Jeff's got 90.
Another 30. You don't think he can
no,
win another
I know
30?
It's real. It's just crazy to think that he's got that much life ahead of him.
Yeah, he's got 30 now, right?
Because what is Kyle? Barely 30 years old.
He's 32.
32.
So he's got, what would you say, Jamie? 10, 12 years.
So as you're saying all that, I'm just thinking, like, is Kyle motivated enough, right? Like, because there was a time not long ago that I'm like, I think he'll win a championship, maybe go race sprint cars, right? But I feel like that's changed. I think he's more motivated to become the best NASCAR driver of all time now, and he could. Like, there's a realistic opportunity for him to do that. And I think he's more motivated now than ever, but. He also, I think there's some frustration as I read the quote, right? That he's like, well, if we're in the other car, I'd already be ahead quite a bit. So, yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to count him out.
Yeah.
I mean, he can win everywhere.
Yeah. You'd never say never. I got in trouble recently because I said like 3 or 4 years ago, I said Gretzky's goal record would never be broken.
Never is a powerful word.
And it's here it comes. But yeah, it's 63 wins to Gordon, which it's going to be tough just on the parity side if we continue to run this car for the next 10, 12 years, whatever it is.
It gets harder every year.
Yeah.
Like, racing in general, like nothing against Richard Petty. That was an easier era than like the 90s. And the 90s were easier than the mid 2000s. Like,
they were also racing 4 or 5 times a week back then. So it was a little bit
It's different.
Yeah.
Different
at this point, in their careers at this point, Jimmy had 33 wins, which is pretty similar to Kyle. Jeff had 64 wins at this point in his career. But I think, again, like those 10-win seasons aren't going to happen. With this car. So it's going to be harder, to click off 6 or 7 a year to catch them guys. But if anybody could do it, it's probably that son of a bitch.
Adam Stevens told me a couple of weeks ago, I did a sit down with him, and he thought they could get to double-digit wins. That was like their goal. Like he talked about the goals at the beginning of the season, and I'm like, well, what was one? And he's like, double-digit wins. And I'm like, wow, that's a lofty goal.
And listen, and then they come out and win the three out of the first 4. And you're like, maybe
but after he said that, look what's probably happened the last 2 weeks. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, I shouldn't have said that.
Oh yeah.
I see.
That was the last one.
We talk about. What do you want to talk about, Tom?
Priest, another top 10,
Another
two
top 10. I was just going to say that.
I just seen the points. Well, the points too. He's in the top 16.
Yep.
Kudos to that group. They're again new team, different crew chief with him. I wanted to talk about that. There's probably 2 or 3 new crew chief race car drivers that are doing well, and there's probably 7 or 8 of them total. So there's more struggling than others right now, and. The 54, right? We brought that up a little bit.
The 54, he kind of drove me crazy the other day because, he's been struggling. Obviously,
I thought you said you were going to leave Ty Gibbs alone this week.
I brought it up. Sorry.
Tommy did it, but it was just one thing, and really, it's not a big knock on Ty, but it was something that I didn't really love to see in practice. He was super fast in practice, but every time he caught somebody, he would just back up off of them and then go back and run him down again, and or that guy would pull off and he'd run down the next guy, and then as soon as he caught him again, he would back off of them. And we've seen ourselves do that, just trying to get clean air, see what you're doing. But the problem is in the race, you're not going to have clean air all the time. You're going to have to be stuck behind somebody and figure out a way to pass them, because we were pretty good in practice, obviously, and we caught him at one point. Couldn't pass him. He drove away from us a little bit, and then he caught somebody else, maybe SVG, who was struggling, and then he struggled to pass him so bad that we passed both of them before he could get around. So I just feel like I get it, your car's fast. He was, really fast, like 3-4 tenths better than us in practice. But obviously, you have to know what your stuff's going to do in traffic. And I felt like he never got a good read for that. And then you saw all day yesterday, he was kind of just mired mid-pack and really couldn't do anything. So stuff like just little things like that right now just aren't clicking for them guys. And they just just clean that up. Ty's a very good race car driver. You can't take that away from him. He's going to be fine. It's just they got to get out of this little funk right now. And just little things like that I think they could do to help themselves.
Yeah, I think the flip side of the struggles of the 54, Allmendinger, 4 top 10s in a
Yeah.
row at Homestead. Like I never thought of him being spectacular there, but pretty incredible. I saw Justin Haley's in the top 10. Zane Smith each week seems to be really fast. Like there's some good stories that don't get covered on TV because they're not fighting for the lead, but there's some of these guys to run 10th in a cup race is incredibly hard. And you see those same guys like Spire to me has been the best story of the year.
And Justin was heading that way last week too, and unfortunately
The pit stops, right?
Well,
I heard someone mention.
Yeah, I mean his pit crew was on the 5 car last week, so they struggled. Every time he came in, he come out last. So they're gaining momentum. Was that two top 10s for AJ as well, right in a row?
It was. He finished top 10 at Vegas. That's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that team is doing it, man.
I was surprised when I was looking at like pre-race stats and stuff like that, and he was up there. Obviously, he had those top 5s, but he was like 3rd or 4th on the list on average finish at Homestead.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And then he backed it up and ran really well this week again too.
Austin Dillon had a really good day going yesterday. I see he finished 13th, but at one point he was up to 7th, like really late. So
him and his brother could haul ass into 3 on a restart. Like they could just hook the bottom of 3. Like they would go drive by everybody. I was like, damn, you can see a mid-pack because every once in a while you see like something catches your eye. Like, you just see somebody blowing by 4 cars. You're like, holy, where's that guy going? Karsyn, anything got you fired up this week?
Honestly, pretty chill week for me. I mean, what's got me excited was Wyatt winning his second.
Oh yeah, I saw
Late
that. That was cool.
All-Star. Yeah. He got a little lucky because the leader ended up blowing up. But honestly, he was running him down before that, and I was really proud of him because he's known for. Well, we internally know that he kind of loses his mind a little bit, like once he gets past.
Wonder where he gets that from.
Allgaier. Well, he gets it honest from probably all sides, but he did a really good job. He didn't get the start that he wanted, or a couple restarts, and he did a really good job just settling in and getting in his groove and running.
How long
consistent.
are those races?
That one was 35.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So a little
So
longer, yeah.
I mean, not super long. Sometimes they do 50 lappers, so I'm interested to see when or if he runs one of those, how that goes. But
he loves dirt racing, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know Wyatt very well. I've been around him a little bit, but everyone I've talked to is like, well, the pavement thing's okay, but like he just loves slinging dirt.
Yeah, he does. He loves the micro, and then when he got into the off-road truck, he was in love because he's jumping stuff. And
one thing I found about kids is they love what they're good at, and
Yeah.
if you start winning on pavement, all of a sudden it becomes not so bad.
Right. Well, that's what I was gonna say next. Is I think now that he's ran second and now got the win out of the way,
Let's do more of that.
he wants to do that more.
I do see a modified in the future, though.
Oh boy.
I hope so. I tell W all the time. We were sitting in the trailer watching the race at South Boston in between it. I tell W all the time. I'm
He
like,
did
man,
that, right? Didn't
Oh,
LW
Yeah,
do
LW
that?
ran the
LW,
Southern
okay.
Wheel Modified Tour.
Did he fight?
Oh
yeah.
my
He did,
God.
right?
Oh,
I kind of said that sarcastically,
All the
but
time.
then
Oh, yeah.
he
All
was
the time.
Yeah.
Where's he from?
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Close enough.
He's a scrappy little dude. That's
He hasn't stopped fighting either. He's gotten kicked out of almost every
Really?
racetrack we've been to
perfect.
with Wyatt.
Love him.
So
That's why I love him.
We do have to work on one thing with Wyatt. We're gonna have to start taking our fire suit off post race. I think.
Oh my gosh, I know. He's been
He's
like
in the
that
Waffle House
since.
wearing his fire suit.
And bless, it was he loves it because he wants people to
Yeah.
know he's a
He's-
race
he's
car driver.
13.
But then Mom and I are sitting there and like we're in the Waffle House, right? Like it's not the
It's probably not that abnormal to have some costumes in the
not
Waffle
the
House.
right. But then again, you have the weirdos, and so then like this guy just kept bugging, and like he just came out of the hospital. Like he had a hospital bracelet on. Like it was just drunk. And I'm
Mooresville
like,
Waffle House?
Wyatt,
Yeah.
would you?
Yeah.
Mom and I were about to crawl out of our skin. We're like, if you didn't have your fire suit on and the trophy
Never,
sitting
yeah.
on the table, this wouldn't be happening.
I wouldn't
but-
picture you going to a Waffle House.
I've been to Waffle House.
I-
Not,
that-
not a lot.
I
Not
was just
recently.
saying,
That's the
I'd
first time I've
imagine-
been to one sober.
I'd
in a
imagine it
while.
wasn't
You know
very-
Jamie's a germa freak, right?
I'm better though since I had kids. Like since having kids, I'm not near.
Like-
I still wash my hands a lot though.
he never shakes hands.
And if I do, I go to the restroom and I shake.
right away. He's a
Yeah.
I knew better. I know better now. I think so.
Just
Somebody
a
else
fist
told me
bump.
that.
Yeah.
Just a fist
Yeah,
bump.
I don't like shaking hands.
A light one too. You can't, else he'll go wash his hands.
I don't want to get anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Tommy was probably the most fired up out of all of us this weekend. For sure.
What's Wyatt's go-to meal at the Waffle House?
He got a side of bacon.
That's it.
It's normal.
I was like, you made us come all the way
No
here.
waffle?
He wanted to go to the Waffle House, had to go, and he.
I would want a waffle if I
He's
went to
like,
the
I'm
Waffle
not
House.
that hungry. I just want bacon.
That's the butterbean effect. Everybody's
That's what he wanted. That's why
Everybody's
he
got to go to
wanted
the
to
Waffle
go.
House.
Where would you go? Where's your go-to?
It's a bar. It's a bar.
Big
Somewhere.
Al's.
I'd
Big
imagine
Al's.
Big Al's on
Big
Sunday
Al's.
night.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this last night. I was like, it's probably my fault.
How old
we
are you?
lost 42.
Ooh, that'll slow down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Trust me, it's already slowed down quite a bit. But
you look good for 42.
No, not really.
He's
I tell
pickled
her,
as he
It's
is.
the lighting in here.
Yeah, it's a good light. It was the makeup chair I sat in for an hour before we got in here. But last night we're leading the race with like 30 to go, and I'm like, if we win this, I'm gonna have to get up early. I even moved the podcast up a half hour tomorrow.
That's what I was.
I think the
thinking
tires
about.
went away right like that. I was like, oh, good thing.
Yeah, watching the end of the race, I'm like, we have a chance Freddie might be extremely hungover, and we'll all be getting a text to go to Big House. But we survived.
We made it, thank goodness.
All right, we ready for a little reaction theater?
I hope so.
These are always interesting.
I hope I'm safe.
Speaking of Waffle
How many
House.
calls do we get?
We have 6 or 7 right now.
How many we get in total?
Oh, in total, like 180. Like,
Jeez.
yeah.
I can only imagine.
I hope I'm safe.
Sorry,
this week.
Karsyn.
God.
You have got to be me.
Blaney.
Where the hell is my toaster? Fastest car on the track, and we blow a motor? Ain't blown a motor in 4 or 5 years, and now we done blown 2. Anyway, I'm pissed. Are you pissed? I'm pissed.
He's pissed.
Anyway.
Go 12.
Anyway, that's a
Anyway.
new one. That's a new one.
Yeah, so that I knew I recognized that voice. I think that was the original Go 12 guy, and he's been sitting in his tub with the toaster for the last 3 weeks now.
And I tell you what, from here on out, wake up every Sunday morning, walk outside, get a 2x4, and just let my wife slap me in the nuts with it. Because that's what it's like to be a Kyle Busch fan.
We haven't had a Kyle Busch fan in a while.
Did he have damage yesterday? Why, he was
He got the
struggling
wall a little bit, yeah.
But I mean, everybody hit the wall a little bit. But I mean, he was really bad. I thought he must have had a bunch of damage.
But I just want to come on here and give a shout out to us Blaney fans because I got the tub nice and warm and I got a line of toasters for us to pick from. So y'all just come hop on in because what the is up with them engines? Anyway, Tommy, you look like a deranged Easter bunny at that fight there. I just want to say for an old man like yourself, you still got some ass behind you. But anyway, go 12.
What's the deal with the toaster?
So the Blaney fans, like I forget, a couple years ago, we had a guy call in. Blaney was just having a miserable summer, kind of like he is right now, and the guy called in every week, and he's like, oh, you know, they turned for like, he's like, I'm in the tub, you know, we're all getting together, all the Blaney fans are in the tub, and then he had a good race. They were all in the tub, like celebrating, you know, hanging out, drinking, and then it turned into like, oh,
The
now
pub or the tub?
the tub, like a
They
bathtub.
want to throw a toaster
Then
in.
now they want to throw a tub, like because it's going so bad, they want to bring their toaster in there.
A
but
bath bomb.
They turned it. I mean, it's been a thing for a little while, but it's interesting.
Yo, hung money, trips on his own, runs into lane rig, and gets back all the way to the front in like 40 laps. Is there any other trucks even in the field? What the is this? Yo,
we had to slow that one down, Alex. Yeah. Did you remember the hung money thing from last year? Did you hear about that one? So the guy called in and said he must be hung like a horse because he steps on every week. Yeah, but he did good. At least that last restart
This
was
is a very inappropriate
yeah,
section of the show.
Yeah.
Sometimes
You should have been here last week.
I heard it. I did. I listened.
Hey, fellas, we're up here at South Boston. You might want to come get your boy Tommy. He's rolling around with a tow truck driving out here. Somebody help him.
I didn't know so that was kind of coinciding with the end of the Xfinity race. So I always have my phone out in front of me, like on a what do you call it? Like a thing, like that thing, and next thing I know, it's just text. I'm like, the hell is going on? I hope everybody's all right. And it's just videos of Tommy trying to kill somebody. I was like, oh my god.
Well, the modified race took 9.5 hours to run.
It did.
It always does there.
It was way too long. Yeah,
It always does. Yeah.
There's a lot of cars, right?
There's 33 of them showed up. A couple of them broke in practice, unfortunately. But yeah, it was good racing up front. I mean,
many did they
Luke
start?
ended up finishing third. He's got the points lead now. So yeah.
How was Carter's day?
expensive. Would be a good word,
Good,
probably.
good.
I didn't. I mean, in all fairness, I didn't watch it because with the Xfinity
Oh,
race
yeah,
was
yeah,
going on, and I just kind of got a little. I saw the little clips he showed me he was involved in a couple of wrecks. One, he spun a guy out, which didn't tear anybody's stuff up. But then there was I don't really know what caused all the wrecks, just close together. And then Newman's car was on top of his car at one point. Like there was.
That's exciting.
Yeah, my wife. Did I show you the text from my wife?
No.
I love my wife. She I'm getting updates from her during the race, like because I saw he was in a wreck and I'm like, can he keep going? Because it looked really tore up, right? And she sends me a picture. She's like standing in the pits, and the front's there's no front. It's all smashed in. And I'm like, ooh, that doesn't look good. And she said the radiator's busted, but Phil said as long as he runs the fans, he'll be okay. And I'm like, well, you got part of that right. I don't think the radiator's busted, but like maybe we need the fans because there's no ductwork or something like that. So that was the updates I was getting. So I'm like, well, I don't know if we're still going or not. So
yeah, Carter had a rough one.
He has a long day. Yeah.
Whatever happened to all the reactions of people who doing it right? Huh? Whatever happened to all of the laughing and clapping and getting it hype? Huh? Whatever happened to people like Jeb who singing and playing guitar? Yeah. Whatever happened to people like Peyton making all day setting the bar? I'll come out retirement, tell them where Tyler went. Remind the fans what the hell that we're firemen. Too many people bathing with appliances, making the podcast a hostile environment. Karsyn and Tommy and Freddie, that's fam. Tim's, guess you're adopted. But I'm ready to get up and light up the mic against anyone acting obnoxious. Anyone talk out of pocket, bet I'm gonna rock it. Piazza coming to bat, complaining becoming constant, creatively lost it. Why can't we stick to the track? Totally cool if you don't like the race. Totally cool if you right and chase. Totally cool if you disagree with their opinions or don't like their takes. So come on, let's bring in the heat in the season, cause what we got ain't a good look. Nope. DBC faithful, it's time we get able and bring the boys one for the books. Yeah. Crack open them keys or roll up them trees or make them say, ooh, let them cook. And show everybody why Door Bumper Clear is the one that's got everyone shook. Look, one final thing that I'll say to the haters before I just up and go leave ya. You're throwing these tantrums and sounding like children, I promise it, I don't believe ya. If hearing them talking about all the drama is something that just doesn't please ya, go listen to Danny, go listen to Harvard, cause DBC don't need ya.
Period.
So that's our
good.
boy.
That was awesome.
That's our boy Tyler that we used to
You have
have.
a very diverse show here. like you've got.
We can go from one side to the other in split second.
We have
Trust me.
the modified guys covered. I heard some country.
Oh yeah.
I heard some hip hop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
This is a place for everyone.
Tyler, I hope we hear from you.
that was
all the
talented though. It was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that was
So he,
good.
I don't remember, he did that a lot for us, and then Mike gave him a job, and then he stopped helping us out, and then we disappeared for a little while, but now he's back, and I hope he stays back, because and I mean, to think that he did that, I mean, what time the race end yesterday?
So he did that since
last night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he would do it. He was back, 3 or 4 years ago. He was doing that every week. He would recap the race in a much shorter rhyme, but like he would recap the race every night and send it in to us, and then but that was obviously fantastic, and I couldn't agree with the sentiment more. That if you don't like it, we don't. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Was that our last one? Or we have one more?
I got one more. This one's for Tommy.
Yeah.
Uncle Tommy, it's Little Pumpkin. All these people saying daddy's money for your kids. Nah, they just got daddy's mind. Trust me, I know. I've gotten them in my pockets every single mancation I've been on. Even the millionaire one got in my pockets and took my money. So they just got daddy's mind, not daddy's money.
Who, is that your friend?
I have no. That's not Pumpkin. I don't know who that was.
That sounded like Connor.
You're friends
Is
with
that
the Pumpkin
Connor?
though, right?
Yeah. Pumpkinhead.
That might have been Little Pumpkin. That might have been Connor. It might
sounded
have been
like-
Was
sounded
that
like-
at the
He said
races
Little Pumpkin.
this weekend?
No, Pumpkin.
No.
No.
Who was the guy in your pits?
Which one?
I don't know. He was sitting in the chair.
Forrest? Old Man Forrest?
I don't know.
No, he was not South Boston. You're talking about
Oh, Butchie. Butchie was there. Yeah.
Is that
He's
a nickname?
another. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's another. Well, that's not his real name. He's
Yeah.
got a couple of aliases.
Butchie?
Yeah, Butchie was
Was
there.
there? I
Butchie
didn't
and
know
Nancy.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Johnny Fats. It was Johnny Fats. Maybe it was Johnny.
Johnny was
there.
in Miami.
Yeah, that's
Not
what we're
South
talking about.
Boston,
Miami.
he's talking
Oh no, I was talking about South Boston.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
He was there. He was there.
I was there on Friday. They had practice
You
golf
got
on a
me off.
Friday, so
I was like,
I was
there's
confused.
no way you were there.
I had Forrest, who was 74, and I had
Forrest is 74. Looks like 106.
It
by
was
the
a
way.
lean pit crew he had over there.
and the other one was
Not a lot of
84.
fighters.
And the other one was 84.
There was no
my
backup, I can
average-
tell you that.
My average pit crew was 70. Well, it was 70. I brought it down to 72.
Oh, you
So-
brought it down,
Yeah,
huh?
I brought it down to 72.
Tommy's the young one at 79.
That's why he does that, so he can be
Everyone's
the
like,
young
"Well,
one.
trying to. I don't want any help. Leave me alone. Just don't touch
Shout
me."
out to Alex Bodine. He was right in the middle of it for
Yeah, I was
you.
going to
He's-
say, where did Alex come from?
Yeah, he just popped up.
I love him. All right. Well, those were good. To leave an audio message 24/7, you can call our number 704-802-9572, and we will play the best ones each week on the show. And it's now time for Ask DBC. You can send in your questions on X each week using hashtag AskDBC. And this week, Dennis wants to know, after watching the Barry and Logano pit road incident, what is the protocol to avoid something like that happening on such a narrow pit road? And follow up, who do you think was at fault, if anyone?
This is probably more for Tommy because as if you don't know what it sounds like on the radio, normal, I think most teams, I don't know how you did it, Jamie, but it's the spotter will get you to 10 away. The crew chief will call you from 10 away into the box and then try to get you out of the box to the outside lane, or at least out of the box and rolling a couple stalls away, and then the spotter will take back over. So, Tommy, what's it like on the box? And this narrow pit road is kind of similar to Indy. What's it like for you sitting on the box trying to get him out of the box in that situation?
Yeah, I mean that's a hard situation to call because you got to get him out of the box, right? And you also have to see, as you get him out of the box, you have to also look in the backside, not the front side, because you got to see what cars are coming in what lanes. As you can see, pulling out, there was no lanes. There was no other lanes. So that was just already 3 wide because someone jumped earlier 3 spots before that, and that was just a tough deal for both of those guys.
Jamie, how hard is that? I
just would put that on Josh. I mean, like, you're looking in your rearview mirror. Like when the left side of the car goes up, I would always look in my rearview mirror to see like what's coming. And then I would take what the spotter, the crew chief told me based on what I saw and how much room do I have. I mean, it's unfortunate that Joey pulled out kind of at the same time, but I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those situations you might have to give up a little to
he would have had to stop.
Right.
Like the 21 would have had to stop.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah, I mean, he comes straight out. Like, no.
You know what's weird is when you're in the car and you launch, it feels like it won't go, and then you hit something, you're like, damn, I'm going pretty fast. Yeah, right.
But to your answer your question, Dennis, there's really, I mean, it's just kind of a, like you said, you try to do the best you can.
It's
but
a no-win, right? Like you just,
and
it happens in just so fast inside the car.
I know, Tommy, you said this happened with, was it Chase and Blaney at another point in the race also, where, the same thing, kind of come out and.
Yeah, Chase was really aggressive getting out of his box, and he ran into Ryan, and then Ryan wasn't happy at all, and he finally got back up to him into turn 3 to show his displeasure a little bit.
And you see this, I mean, we saw it Friday night. I think it was Majeski, and Majeski ended up getting the left front knocked in on his truck when he had a really good truck. It's just a product of that wall being there on the right side. It kind of boxes you in. A lot of places you have a little more room to work with. You got room, like somebody darts out, you can go to the right. Well, here, Blaney's kind of out against the wall and nowhere to go. And another thing is you're trying to. Geez, almost happened.
Again, it was
twice
too,
right
there. It was too wide again. I mean, it's right there. I mean,
know,
unfortunately, our people can't see this because NASCAR.
Ryan,
well, you just need to get in a fight.
Yeah, I'm just
going to
get in a fight in the Cup race. Maybe we can get some.
We'll get Flo down there to give us some video.
Yeah.
Ryan reminds me of Casey Kane because he's so nice and so quiet, like in person, and he gets on the radio, and you're like, oh my god,
he
who is on the
snaps
radio?
It was funny. He was here a month ago or so, and we were giving. But he's like, I'm not that bad. And I'm like,
if they had radio sweethearts, though, you would be top 5.
Every week?
Yeah, every week.
Well, he did say that lady replays everything, right?
Yeah, he said he goes back through her Twitter and reads it and is like, ooh, did I really say that?
That's funny.
Oh, well, speaking of losing your show Hall of Fame time, we'll nominate someone each week, and y'all get to vote on Twitter for who gets inducted. And last week, the 88 truck crew member and the tow truck flip tied. We had our first tie of the season.
What happened there?
So the truck. Did you see the truck guy pull the Packer out under red?
Oh, the sneaky guy.
Sneaky guy, yeah.
I did not see it, but I heard you guys talk about it.
Got caught by the camera on the the pit.
So did they get in
pit
trouble?
Road camera. They got a penalty for working out like
that
tail.
Stinks because I think if you're creative like that, you should get it. I think it should be a freebie.
And the funny thing was, he. Like you see him watch the officials walk by, and he's so like, as soon as he does, he turns around. I mean, quick, and then he. Unfortunately,
so funny.
There's the cameras everywhere. There he is. The officials walk by, whoop whoop,
clean it, start cleaning, whoop, pull the Packer, boop, start
Moving
cleaning.
Right
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
Masterful.
He felt good about it. I'll tell you right now.
If it wasn't for that one camera,
guy,
that was
those
up
cameras
top.
get you. How tough?
Like you said
those cameras
yesterday.
and mics.
Can't get away with anymore. You said.
There wasn't a lot of on track show Hall of Fame. I don't think for me. Maybe Tommy might want to give it to somebody. For me, actually, I take that back. On track for me, that the video that popped up last week of that ARCA team that runs dead last every time I ever see him on a racetrack, posting a video to come drive for them. If you ever want to get in a car and test, call us right now. And you look, the window net is down in the video.
Looks like it's handling good though.
Well, he's running half throttle.
Oh.
But it's just, like I said, it's one thing to do this, one thing to go out there without a window net, one thing to do all this, but then you post a video of it like, hey, look how stupid we are. So this is definitely my nominee.
I think that's the biggest problem in like short track racing is the lack of safety and the lack of knowledge.
1,000%.
Of the I went to LaJoy's. I had this all belts to seat built. I was very adamant with the team about how it needs to be mounted because I just want it to be right. I just want everything to be. It's my kid. I want it to be perfect. And when you go to the track and you look at other people's cars, I don't think they do it on purpose. I think it's that they don't know. Yeah. And I wish there was some way to educate everybody on how to make the car safer for everybody. Because like what you're seeing there should never happen.
I really want to give a shout out to just all the idiots that were in my replies because I tweeted this video and I was like, this is a disaster. Like this can't happen. And everybody's like, well, you didn't see Mario and AJ running with a window net and this. And I'm like, you're a moron. He's like, he's on a track by himself. Who cares? Listen, you don't know what the could happen at any moment. Right there, he just almost overcorrected and pounded the fence. Don't give me the about he's out there by himself.
You think it won't happen to you until it does?
Where it's at Hickory, but it's just it's like an open test for an East car or something like that. I think, but it's just don't come at me with you don't know what the is going to happen out there. So don't tell me he doesn't need it stuff because he's out there by himself. Like it's an idiotic comment.
Yeah. Agree. Unfortunately, my show nominee is going to have to be Thomas in the tow truck. Thomas in the tow truck driver.
It's hard to.
I'm okay with it.
That's like a kid's book. Thomas and the tow truck driver.
The thing is, I don't care.
That's our shirt.
Put that on the
That's our shirt.
That's
Thomas
our
and the
next
tow
shirt.
truck driver.
I don't care.
What's Dale's book? What's
Buster's trip to victory lane.
Thomas and the tow truck driver.
Thomas and the tow truck.
Go to town. Yeah.
That's okay. I'm fine with it.
Thomas and the tow truck driver throwdown.
Oh my God! Anything that caught your eye? It's just I know you're.
I was gonna make fun of him, but she already got it.
Everybody's got it.
Well, there's room for more always.
That's the only show nominee.
So we'll do the ARCA guy. We can do you, and we can do the maybe Barry, and then coming off pit road was a bit of a show there. So
I don't know about Barry. I don't know if it's hard.
I mean, it just caused a show. This is the thing. It's not his fault. I'm just saying it kind of is his fault actually, but. There you go. If you want to get Carter involved, you can.
I think we need to find a little bit more short track racing shows too.
I think I'm gonna take a pass.
All right, so we got the pit road incident, Tom and the tow truck driver, and no window net on the ARCA car. So make sure y'all go vote on our Show Hall of Fame Twitter poll to see who you want to be inducted into the Show Hall of Fame this week. Do we need to? How are we going to do a tiebreaker for the? Like, is it just a tie? Is that it for the?
Yeah, they tie.
The crew member in the tow truck.
I'm assuming Chris Wright is still well ahead in the overall standings.
Yeah, we would have had
Daytona?
one above.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I'm telling you.
Well, he was on for 2 weeks.
I'm watching that live, and I was like,
"Oh yeah, you're calling that, right?"
I don't really know what to say right there. Like, I think I know what happened, but here
does that happen pretty often? Like where there's things that happen and you're just kind of like.
Well, so yes, and I think when you see that scenario, you want to bash, right? You want to say, "What an idiot," but you're like, "Well, maybe his brakes failed," and you don't want to say it, and then be like, "Well, now I feel like the idiot," right? But that was interesting. That was
it was a spotter's fault. So it was
Barnwell. I saw Barnwell at the airport like the next week. He's like, "I really appreciate you not throwing me under the bus." I love Keith. Yeah.
All right. Let's go to DBC Picks. New twist this year. Since we have a rotating guest, Jamie, you will get to pick with us.
This is the most colorful rundown I have ever seen in my life. Like, you have colors for everything.
I won. I'm back in the lead.
How?
Tommy, you still.
Good pick, Tom.
I finished fifth.
Fifth, though. That's
good.
the best one.
Pick.
Well, no.
Well, normally you're being a smart ass.
Yeah, well, it's every once in a while. Occasionally.
All right, wait. So then who gets to go first?
Jamie goes first this week. So you can pick anybody that's not highlighted on that guest list over there. Slugger tried to help the
Oh,
guest.
he was so excited yesterday. He said, "My car, I'm qualified. All you guys, we got you."
Where are we going? Homestead? I mean, Homestead.
we are,
Martinsville.
Martinsville, yeah.
Martinsville.
I think I'll go Denny Hamlin.
That's a guy. He's pretty good there. He's always been pretty good there. I will take Blaney.
I'm going to take Logano.
Wait, you don't
get to go.
Give me a chance.
Tommy, take Logano.
No, I'm not.
Tommy gets so mad over nothing.
You don't get that back.
I'm not even mad.
What's your
Everyone's
blood?
like,
What's your blood? What's your blood pressure?
126/72 always.
So
Write it down.
He turned purple the other day.
No, it was still
no,
126/72, but that's
Who am I going to pick? I had somebody in mind.
well, you're getting old.
Ryan Priest.
That's a
All
good
right.
pick.
There's a shocker.
All right. And
No, I think
Yeah,
he
he'll
loves
be good
Martinsville,
there,
man.
yeah.
He does good there.
very clearly, Joey Logano.
Logano.
Go with
Sounds good.
Logano.
I have picked Blaney 5 of the 6 weeks on our picks on Fox. And I didn't know
Maybe.
that. I just I don't know. I looked up just like
He's good
here.
here,
I'm
yeah.
like, well, he's pretty good there. I'll take him, right? and then this week I didn't take him, and he was dominating the race. And I was like, well, clearly I'm the jinx of him. And then he blew up, and I'm like, well,
So
I
now
got
you know
nothing
you're
to do
not.
with it.
It's not you.
Excellent. So I guess you're going racing this week, right? What's plans for you?
I think we're testing this week.
guys
Carter's
are
testing
testing
Orange
Thursday.
County.
Thursday,
yeah,
yeah.
one day this week, and then I'm not in the CW booth this week. It'll be Adam and Parker, just the two of them, and then I'll be at Martinsville on Sunday for the Fox pre-race. Yeah.
What's the plan with Carter this year? Just strictly modified racing this year, or
No, we're doing the Legend car too. It's really hard. Like, I feel like people assume that I have this master plan of like, this is what we're going to do, but I don't. I mean, I'm trying to make it, I want it to be fun for him. As much as, he wants to be a professional race car driver, that's a steep road, and it takes a lot. And I know that Tommy's going through it as much as anyone, and it's, it's all a financial thing, right? I mean, if you have the money, you can go do whatever you want. But it's really hard, and so we're going to do the modified, the Smart Tour this year, maybe some other races. I don't know enough about that to know what other races we can do. They had mentioned to me that Caraway maybe has some one-off, I don't know, some one-off races.
The North-South shootout, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe do some of those. We're going to do all the Cars Tour races with the Legend car that they run in companion with them. Those are really fun. I would like to advocate that they run it before the Cars Tour race, maybe at like 6 p.m. That'd be really helpful for mom and dad.
Yeah.
Not post the race.
I'll
I
let
would.
somebody know.
Yeah, if you got any pull there, that would go a long ways with me. But those are fun because there's so many people there, and I think as a kid, the Legend cars are really fun for the kids because especially at those races, because you get there and there's a lot of people in the stands, there's a lot of reaction, and those cars, they're super hard to drive, and so we're gonna do some of that. Then I don't know. I'd like to take him and do some road racing on even the Spec Miatas or whatever. I think those are
fun.
good little learning tools. Yeah. So but I don't have a plan. I'm just trying to work it all out.
After this show, you know how many phone calls he's going to get for teams now?
Hey, we can put you in this.
the one I seen a picture of Carter somewhere. There's a conscious effort to make his hair look exactly like yours. I mean,
so I'll throw Carter under the bus a little bit. Not that long ago, we had to have a sit down with Carter, and we're like, "Hey, you can't just get out of bed and go to school. We're gonna have to take a shower and wet your hair down so that it's not sticking. It was sticking up, but in a way of the pillow did it, not gel." And it's just fun to watch your kids grow up, and they go from I just don't care if my hair's sticking up to fixing your hair, and he doesn't. I don't think he wants that haircut because it looks just like mine.
I mean, it's identical.
Who cut it? Same person?
It actually is.
Well, there you go.
We're just born. We have what we have, right?
Yeah.
But it's really funny. I saw some pictures from this weekend, him sitting next to me, and I'm like, I'm not denying him. That's
it was funny
you.
because I saw when he was running the go-karters a couple times, I saw some stuff about him, and I didn't think he had that. Then I saw a modified tweet about Carter's running this week with us at Smart Tour, and I was like, oh my god,
I know it's me. It's just me 25 years ago.
How did he get so tall though?
He's gonna be big.
Yeah.
He's taller than me now. Christy's dad was and her whole side of the family was tall.
Oh, okay.
Mine obviously was not. Yeah, I think they said he'd be 6'1" to 6'5". So
he's gonna be big.
Yeah, that's an awkward thing. Just so you know, when you're like, I gave him a hug this morning when he left for school, and I was like, "See you, buddy." I think this is so weird that you're taller than me because he had shoes on and I didn't, so it was really bad.
And your wife, she's only 4 foot tall.
She's not
too,
tall,
right?
and our little girl's not going to be tall.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to say, like, we've talked a lot about Carter, and I know this is a racing show, but my little girl does horses, and
the
it's
next
hard.
expensive
Two of,
thing.
I was going to say the two most expensive sports possible.
You're correct in that, but she loves it, and I have a really not a hard time with it, but I'm just not into the barn and the dirty. Like, it's just it's a totally different environment. But she loves it, and she's very passionate, and so I think it's I think about as my childhood growing up. I got a lot more attention than my sister did because I was racing, and racing takes a full commitment, right? We all know that. And so I've tried really hard with our kids to not do that. And it's kind of went that way a little bit because of Carter racing. And so we're fully committed, but she's into horses. And I had this great moment this weekend during our practice and qualifying show. My little girl, I knew that she was in Raleigh doing a horse show, and she had went up there with some other friends from the horse show because Christy took Carter to the racetrack. And my phone rang, and she doesn't call me often. And I knew she was traveling, and I'm like, I need to answer this. And so we were on air, and I'd set my headset down, and I went to the corner. I'm like, hello, like trying to be quiet in the booth. And she can't breathe. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, Dad. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I won. And she was so excited. And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, as a dad, I was like, oh. I'm like, so glad you called me and not your mom. I'm like, that is so sweet that you called me. And she was just so excited because we get passionate about racing and all the hard work, but she does the same thing with those horses, and it's really sweet.
Yeah.
Love that.
You need to talk to Priest. Priest is in that horse world, right?
Oh, yeah.
Heather's got
He's
Priest's
carting
wife.
horses back and forth all week long.
He's deep in that one. Thomas, what do you got going on this week?
Man, we got a busy week. Luke's debuts in the Thorsport 66 Mohawk Ford F-150 at Friday night at Martin's Horse.
Yeah, Lord.
Yeah. So,
He's going to say fastest Xfinity Mobile in that.
Yeah. See, he's got sim today, pit practice, sim tomorrow, pit practice. He goes to Thorsport on Wednesday, gets final fit. And then it's Friday, truck race. Then he races for Ryan Priest Racing Tri-Track Series in Thompson on Saturday. Then he'll run our car to 7NY on the tour on Thompson on Sunday. So we're busy.
I got to say, and it's not because Tommy's sitting here, and I've told everyone this about Luke, and I haven't met Jack. I honestly, I don't think I've ever even said hi to Jack, just
nice.
because I've been around Luke a lot more. And I remember Luke and Jack from MRO when I was racing, and they were just these little kids, right? And it's been like, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago, I was at Charlotte, and I was watching Carter run the sledging car, and I didn't know it was Luke, but he was standing next to me, and he just started talking to me, right? And I looked, and I'm like, I think I know him, but I don't know how, right? And he introduced himself to me, and I'm like, oh my God, you've gotten so big. And I didn't even realize that he was racing modifieds and everything else he was doing, but I've gotten to know Luke over the past like 4 or 5 months, and I don't think it's Tommy's son, because he's just the sweetest kid, and his work ethic towards his racing, and I've sat back and I've watched, and he's just great kid. He's done a tremendous job on the racetrack. Like he's really savvy, I feel like, in the car. He's obviously has moved a few people out of the way, but I think there's a really good balance there, right, of aggression and making good decisions. And I'm as excited, I think, as Tommy to watch him this weekend, just because I know everything that he's put into it, and I'm going through it with my kid, right? And as I've asked Luke the last couple of weeks, I'm like, what are you doing to prepare for Martinsville? Just, and he's like, talk about watching film and the pit practice and everything that goes with it. And I think I'm as excited as Tommy is, just because it's fun to watch people, try to make what they're passionate about come true. And I lived it. And I remember over the years, people coming up to me talking about trying to get their kids into it. And I not that I didn't care, but I didn't have the investment in it. And now that I do, and I watch these other kids, Connor Zillich is a great one too, right? Like I've watched these guys grow up, and it's really cool to see kids' dreams trying to come true.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna go up there and probably watch with Tommy to make sure we don't have any incidents.
Who's spotting for him?
Tab Boyd, who does that 66 truck weekly. I did have to mention, because he texted me 75 times last night, that Jack, which I think it might have fell off because he stopped texting me, he had damn near a perfect bracket Has he told you this yet? Or,
Oh, yeah.
He was up to 300th place out of 24 million people in the
my
ESPN
God.
bracket challenge.
That's incredible.
That's insane.
I think he might have fell off because the last couple games he never gave me he gave me 4 or 5 updates of I'm 500th, I'm 400th, now I'm 300.
345.
345.
Yeah, he's like you guys, degenerates. He's got a gambling addiction.
Do you do a bracket?
No, I don't.
I've never seen a bracket. Like,
I've never done one.
Just a playoff one for the NASCAR.
yeah, that's it. And I dread doing that because it's impossible to pick.
Yeah, Jack likes to gamble with Freddie.
He likes to gamble with my money, is what he likes to do sometimes. That's his favorite.
He calls Freddie for money, not me.
But so he was like, hey, you better talk about me tomorrow. I said, I promise you, we're going to talk about you tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to be for this bracket, but we're definitely going to talk about you. So
it's cool though that he's getting to do, like I've watched this weekend with both Luke and Jack being at the track and Tommy getting to be there. It's really cool that you get to do that.
No,
like
it's
fun
incredible most of the time.
Yeah, but I think that the frustration is what makes the when you do well so valuable, right? If it was easy and there was no downside, then you don't appreciate the upside.
Yeah, for sure.
Jack's come a long way. Unfortunately, last 2 races,
he's been super quick though.
Yeah,
wow,
it's been good,
super quick.
Well, Karsyn, Cars Tour.
Cars Tour's back in action
Yay.
this weekend.
Where are they at?
We're going to Wake County.
That's right.
We just have late model stocks with us this weekend, but
There's some potential show nominees coming out of Iowa.
I'm sure there
That's a
will
tough
be.
track for those cars, right?
What is the reason why the pros don't run every time?
To be honest with you, they want a little bit less of a schedule, and since there's more pro and super racing going on that they can go do elsewhere, it kind of gives them the opportunity to do that. And also with Wake specifically, we just can't.
There's no room,
we can't
right?
park that many trailers there. I mean, there's just not enough room. But we take them to 13 out of 15, so not bad.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that much this year.
Yeah,
keep them.
It's actually less than we did last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did 17 races last year. We backed it up to 15 this year.
Keep an eye on Kip for me. Don't let him get too wound up this week.
Kip never
Kip
gets
Childress.
wound up. Kip is one
Kip's
speed,
always the
man.
one talking me off the ledge.
Yeah.
I'll blow in the trailer and be like, MF and everything, and thank God he has daughters because he can chill me out.
Those races get rough at the end. Yeah. Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
And we're the only two down there. They can all MF also, so that's the other fun part.
Excellent. Well, we are heading to Martinsville this week. It was good to see everybody out in Homestead. Another great race there, and hopefully softer tire. I think we got this week again. So just another hopefully. A good race to back up the one we had there last year, to back up what we had at Phoenix a couple weeks ago. What are you expecting Xfinity? Oh, you're not going to Xfinity, right? So you don't care.
No, well, I care, but I don't. The short track thing in the new car has been tough, and hopefully the softer tires will help some. I hate talking tires. I just feel like we just wear tires out, and I don't know that that's the fix all to all of that, but it did seem that Phoenix, when they had the difference in tires, it was a little more entertaining, and
I think that's where a lot of people get mixed up with, talk about how great Phoenix was. If we just had the red tires there, it would have not been
and
as
the one
good.
thing that I remember about for years at Martinsville was you could get like 50 laps in, and if you didn't do a good job, you could get lapped over the next like 20 laps because your rear tires would be gone, and that's went away.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can get that back. I just think there's such a balance for Goodyear to produce what they want as a good tire and not. You think back to the years of Tony Stewart just
bashing.
I mean, just brutal, right? And like they just don't ever want to get back to that. But I think the drivers have bought in a little more now, and it's a little more. It's just okay, right?
Yeah.
To
and a lot of people forget that like NASCAR racing is not Goodyear's only outlet.
No.
They're still trying to sell tires to you on Monday, so they don't want a tire that blows out every Sunday afternoon.
Well, the other thing that we've seen is just the weather can dictate a significant amount of wear or not having wear. And I don't know how you build tires months ahead of time and know what the weather's going to be. You can't, right? I mean, that's a tough battle.
All right, well, looking forward to see everybody out this weekend in Martinsville. Hopefully a good race. Thanks for tuning in. Jamie, thank you again for stopping by. Always one of our favorites, and hopefully get you in here some more. I'm sorry we set you up for a little extra news.
We started off on the bad
foot.
foot.
I mean, how cool was that, though? I mean, we didn't get to talk about it as much.
I've not got to have a throwback scheme yet, and you see those every year, and of course you don't want to go be like, hey, can you do one of my cars, right? Like, so it's really cool, and it was fun to like have the little bit of conversation with Karsyn out there. He said he was 7 when I ran that car.
That means you're getting old.
And that's what I told him. I said, I'm very honored that you're doing this, but at the same time, it hurts my feelings because it makes me feel old. So I have a throwback car. Yeah, so but that's special.
Well, you're gonna have have a hard time at Darlington. Not
I'll be very biased. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say right now.
You have to own it. Yeah,
Johnny Morris is gonna get to have his car on TV a whole lot. I'm gonna tell you right now. Bass Pro Shops will be said probably more than any other sponsor.
And listen, and to that point, Karsyn is doing an unbelievable job this year. I think just putting himself in position. Yeah, I know some of the finishes don't reflect how good he's run, but he's really been impressive this year.
Super talented.
Yeah,
super talented young man. He and I know Connor's probably getting a little more credit because he has that win at the road course and he's run so well. But both of those guys have done an exceptional job this year for sure.
And on the topic too, we want to say a big shout out to Johnny Morris and Bass Pro Shops for bringing everybody today's episode. We really appreciate everything that they do for NASCAR, Junior Motorsports even, and all the fans. You can gear up at North America's premier outdoor and conservation company, Bass Pro Shops.
Excellent. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Peace out.